Allan Aguirre with your Incorruptible 2-minute warning for Friday, November 10th. Cheers. And it's Friday. Oh, let's go over here to Friday mode. There we go. Hey, good morning. How are you? How the heck are y'all? That's my only Texan that I know. Hey, we're in a series we're calling Chameleon, Corinthian, or Caricature. We're wrapping up week 4. We've been in chapter 3 of 1 Corinthians, and we're going to wrap that chapter up today. All right. Here's some highlights from this week, from chapter 3. Right out the gate. This is called. And I was gonna look up this. Go to our Bandcamp, Scattered Few, Division in the Church, DITC on Sin Disease. I was gonna set it up for you to play it for you. I've been sick all week, so I didn't really have a lot of oomph to do much of anything. And yesterday I was playing Field Trip Person for my daughter's. How old are you? 9 years old. Is that third, fourth grade? Yeah. Hey, so right out the gate, divisions in the church is what this is called. This chapter is called in the English Standard Version. And like we explained the other day, Paul is not only going to talk about the issue and the problem, right? He's just not, unlike, contrary to popular belief, because I get tagged as well as being, all you do is complain. All you do is talk smack about Christianity. All you do is talk negatively about Christianity. No, that's not true. I'm one of the first to actually speak what people are thinking. I'm not afraid of that whatsoever. I will say it. I will call it as I see it. I will blatantly expose the hypocrisy and the absolute paganism and cultish activities of Christianity. But I don't just stop there. I'm not just complaining about it. I will then also give you the answer on how to course correct, on how to fix it, on how to fix what's broken. Just complaining about it is that's a waste of time. That's worthless. But the answer is in there. So Paul, what he does the same thing. We're in chapter 3, and he's talking about, right out the gate, he says, I couldn't address you as spiritual people, but as people of the flesh. How nice is that? Right? That's not very Christian-like. That's not very Christ-like. Where's the love? Where's the mercy? Where's the grace? That's all the BS I get from people all the time whenever I address the real situation that they're in. Paul is saying, I can't address you as spiritual people because you're people of the flesh. Infants in Messiah. I feed you with milk, not solid food, because you're not ready for actual solid food. You haven't graduated from suckling, from drinking milk. Because you're still of the flesh. And because you're still of the flesh, you're not ready. And then he uses the term maturity in chapter 2. You're not mature enough to be talked to about things of the Spirit, because your mind is of the flesh, your reasoning is of the flesh, your whole faith profile is based on the flesh, on what you can see, on what you can understand in the flesh, with your carnal mind, because you are not spiritual. That's what he was talking about in chapter 2. Complete Jewish Bible, I love the way it says this. Look at this. As for me, brothers, I couldn't talk to you as spiritual people, but as worldly people, as babies, so far as experience with the Messiah is concerned. It's true. You don't speak in tongues. You don't heal the sick. You don't cast out demons. Heck, let alone raise the dead. You don't prophesy. You're not involved with any of that stuff. Well, then you don't have much experience when it comes to the Messiah, when the Messiah is concerned. Because Jesus himself said that you would do those things as signs that you were his disciple. But Allan, God did away with that. That's not for today. Well, that's how far removed you are from the experience when it comes to the Messiah, if you think and believe that. That's not even biblical. That's not even scriptural. That's ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. What else? You're still worldly. It's obvious from all the jealousy and quarreling among you. It's obvious from your traditional man-made doctrines of demons that you actually believe and do. Christmas instead of Hanukkah. Easter instead of Passover. Let's get down nitty gritty, buddy. Let's do it. Jeez. Living by merely human standards. Yep. So that's what we saw right out the gate in this chapter. Then he's talking about the work of the ministry. Some will use gold, silver, or precious stones in building on that foundation that's on Messiah, while others will use wood, grass, or straw. But then he says, but each one's work will be shown for what it is. A lot of people forget. Jesus is coming back to judge the living and the dead. He's coming back to judge your good and bad works. He's coming back to judge you. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not, but especially Christians. See, as people of faith, we don't like the word judge. We don't want to be critiqued. We don't want to be scrutinized. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to be examined. That's why they go, oh, that's why they don't like this. That's why they don't like this stuff. You know, we're not here to make friends. If we become friends, awesome. I fear God. We have to be image bearers, standard bearers, and that means not compromising the absolute truths of the Bible. Okay. But each one's work will be shown for what it is. The day will disclose it because it will be revealed by fire. The fire will test the quality of each one's work. If it's burned up, the person will have to bear the loss of the work that if it's burned up. He will still escape with his life, but it will be like escaping through a fire. And then we cross-reference Psalm 66:12, Isaiah 43:2, Jude 1:23. That's the English Standard Version cross-references for verse 15 of 1 Corinthians chapter 3. Okay, so picking up, we're in verse 16. Let's continue on our merry way. Let me see here. Everyone's doing good? You guys going to have a really good Shabbat tonight? Good weekend plans? All right, 1 Corinthians 3, chapter 3, verse 16, divisions in the church. Check this out. Now, biblically speaking, New Testament biblically speaking, regarding our body being the temple is talking about sexual immorality and how don't you know that your body is the temple of the living God? It talks about it's actually referring to you're using your body in sexual immorality and how you can't do that. So that's just a caveat. That's contextually that's what that's regarding. People used to throw that at me when it came to smoking. It's about sexual immorality. Anyway, so here he says in verse 16, do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy him. For God's temple is holy, and you are that temple. Well, but Allan, whose standard, whose definition of sexual immorality are we going to use if we're even going to consider that regarding whether someone is destroying God's temple? How does someone destroy God's temple? Do we have a clear understanding, a clear definition of what destroying God's temple means, Allan? Yeah, we do. I just explained it, sexual immorality. But that's ambivalent. Is that the word? Somebody correct me if that's not the word. That's not clear, Allan. Well, yeah, it's clear. Oh, well, no, because, and then they're going to sit here and they're going to, once again, go back to the top of the chapter. They're immature. They're not spiritual. Everything they do, they process. Their reasoning is all based on the flesh. It's not based on the spirit. And so when they open up their mouth and they start talking like what I'm doing right now, that's how you know. Sorry, I'm getting over this cold. They're immature and they're not spiritual. If you destroy God's temple, your body, and biblically speaking, it's through sexual immorality that you can destroy God's temple, God will destroy you because God's temple is holy and you are that temple. That's heavy, man. That's heavy, 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 heavy. That's not passive. There's no wiggle room. There's no gray area. That's black or white. Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? There's no wiggle room there. If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy him. For God's temple is holy, and you are not that, and you are that temple. That's English Standard Version, right there. Paul is talking to Christians. There are Christians out there that believe you cannot lose your salvation, and there's nothing you can do to lose that. Well, Christianity versus the Bible. Sorry, sunshine. Your Apostle Paul is not preaching that nonsense. That's one of those doctrines of demons I was talking about earlier. That's based on your flesh. That's based on your non-spirit being reasoning. Verse 18. Let no one deceive himself. Oops. Oh, do people even read their Bible? I mean, or do they just skip over this crap? Do they just skip over the stuff that they don't like? They need to get the Thomas Jefferson Bible. Remember that? Thomas Jefferson published a Bible with just the stuff that he liked that it said in there. The stuff that he didn't like, it wasn't in there. Convenient. Let no one deceive himself. Okay, let's cross-reference Isaiah 5:21. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and shrewd in their own sight! Exclamation mark. Check it out, Isaiah 5:21. If anyone among you thinks that he is wise in this age, let him become a fool that he may become wise. All right, this is Paul talking again. Verse 18. Let no one deceive himself. If anyone among you thinks that he is wise in this age, or in this realm, in this period, in this whatever, let him become a fool that he may become wise. Cross-reference Jeremiah 8, verses 8 through 9. How can you say we are wise and the law of the Lord is with us? Oh, man. Okay, see, the fact that Paul is... Okay, this is a cross-reference. He's not citing this, but how can you say we are wise and the law of the Lord is with us, but behold, the lying pen of the scribes has made it into a lie? You can replace scribes with Christian pastors, evangelical Christian pastors. The wise men shall be put to shame. They shall be dismayed and taken. Behold, they have rejected the word, which could also be translated into Tanakh, which means scripture, Torah of the Lord. So what wisdom is in them? Great. That's a great cross-reference. Verse 19. For the wisdom of this world is folly with God. For it is written, he catches the wise in their craftiness. Woo! I know people that actually think, people that have walked away from like legitimate faith, people that have walked away from legitimate scriptural, spiritual faith, right? Which means they're now doing a version of their own version of this thing called Christianity, right? Because they have to they make room for because people have a really bad faith profile reference to the spiritual. Their whole faith profile is based on the flesh, like Paul's talking about. And so they make really bad choices and decisions for their lives, and then they justify themselves, and they justify their actions. They justify who they are, what they're doing, why they're right, all that stuff. And for some reason, they still identify as Christians, but there's literally nothing going on in their life that is actually biblical, Old or New Testament. Let's just keep it to the New Testament. Hell, make it easier for these people. But yet they still think And I've actually have heard them say that when you confront them with the reality of the truth of their life, I've heard them actually say stuff like, "Well, yeah, I'll be having a conversation with God when I meet him." Like they're going to convince God somehow that what they did, what they're doing, who they've become, who they are, is actually okay, because that's how justified they are in what they've done. It's usually sexual immorality, and how their life choice is okay with God, and because you're just a fundamentalist, Alan, and you're not actually progressive or enlightened, and you're still you know towing that fundamentalist conservative point of view, you'll see that God isn't so narrow-minded. God isn't so shut down. He's not so. He's actually evolved along with us. So what you thought. What they only said that it's sin in the Old Testament because they didn't know any better. Now we know better. You're born like that. It's chemically this or that or whatever. All the other BS that they spew based on the top of this chapter. They're not spiritual. They're immature, and they're milk addicts, and they're immature. They're not spiritual. They're people of the flesh in Messiah. Oh my gosh. But and then they're going to have a conversation. They're going to have a conversation with God when they get up there, when they meet him, and they'll be okay. And you'll see, Alan, how you're just pigeonholed and live in a echo chamber. And I'm going to go with the wisdom of this world is folly, and he catches the wise in their craftiness. For it is written, he catches the wise, or Adonai knows that the thoughts of the wise are worthless. Let's see, for some reason I don't have that. He's citing the Torah, and for some reason I didn't write down that. So cool, let me do that real quick. Oh, while you're waiting. All right. Oh, it'll end by. All right. For the wisdom of this world is folly with God. For it is written, and he is citing Job 5:13. He catches the wise in their craftiness. And again, the Lord knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are futile. So let's go to Job 5:13. He catches the wise in their own craftiness, and the schemes of the wily are brought to a quick end. That's what Paul is quoting. He's citing Job chapter 5. Man. Okay. Verse 20. Yeah, there it is. Oh, I do have it. It's down here. And the Lord knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are futile, cited from Job 5:13. Verse 21. So let no one boast in men, for all things are yours, whether Paul or Apollos or Cephas, which means Kepha, Peter, or the world or life or death or the present or the future, all are yours. And you are Christ, and Christ is God's. Verse 23, complete Jewish Bible, and you belong to the Messiah. Oh, man. Let that revelatory declaration sink into your spirit, man. You belong to the Messiah. That should be like a salve, a healing salve, honey to your tongue. That should be a really comfy blanket on a winter night in front of the fire. That should be, invigorating. That should be empowering, emboldening. Is that even a word, emboldening? Right? The fact that you belong to Messiah should be enough. Dayanu, that should be enough. And the Messiah belongs to God. Shabbat Shalom.
The views and opinions expressed during our broadcasts are solely those of the broadcast producers, hosts, and/or guests, etc., and are not necessarily the views or opinions of the Travelog Network, its sponsors, or affiliates.